And this is my home. And so welcome to my home. I hope that you feel loved, you feel comfortable, you eat well. Eat good is how we normally say it, right? And you stay a while and come back. Welcome to the Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival, the 50th anniversary reconvening of the Phillis Wheatley Festival. 1973, 50 years ago, a Jackson State English professor, wife, mother, created, imagined what we could be, and invited the world to see. And we had the Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival, and I was just joking with a few people. I cannot imagine how many phone calls Margaret Walker had to make from her kitchen phone that was not cordless. How she brought the best and the brightest and the most brilliant to our city 50 years ago without text message or email. How she dared and took courage to show people that this is not only what Jackson State was, this is not only what Jackson was, but this is what Black women were doing and had been doing at that point for over 200 years. So this week we draw on her courage. This week we draw on all of the calls that might have gotten hung up on and all of the lines that might have gotten crossed and all of the mail that may have gotten lost, and we dare to reignite the memory of such a special occasion. So welcome. This is my home, but now you have a second home if you're not from here. And if you are, make sure our guests feel welcome. I want to acknowledge a few very special people in the spirit of tonight's event, which is solely designed to honor those who were here in 1973. See, the steering committee, we've been trying to imagine 73. We've been looking at those Boy Lewis images, and we've been gasping and drooling over all of this power in one room on one campus, but there are people who don't have to imagine that because they were in the place. So the first people that I want to acknowledge is those people who were attendees, who were there on the campus, at the talks, at the plenaries, at the luncheons in 1973. Please stand if you attended the original Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival. So now y'all know where to go when you need a little power. You just touch the hem of their garment and there it goes. Because they know what that power feels like. Thank you, thank you, thank you for endeavoring to be here with us tonight and this year. I want to also acknowledge one of our planned and invited participants, Bonnie Burroughs, who is 99 years old. And because we know when you're dealing with life and you're dealing with being human, things don't always go the way that they are supposed to go or you plan them to go. So while Bonnie Burroughs is not physically here with us, she is excited that this is happening. We will continue to lift her and acknowledge her presence in 73 and her spirit in 2023. 2023, can you all help me do that? I must acknowledge the Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival Steering Committee, the brave souls who said yes when they were voluntold. They actually answered their emails. They showed up to meetings. They did additional things. They volunteered their time, their talent, and their service. If you are a steering committee member, please stand, wave your hand so people can see who made this happen. There are a few more than that. You'll see them over the course of the week and the weekend, but thank you sincerely from the top, bottom, and middle of my heart. We are here. We made it. This 50th anniversary reconvening, and I have to tell you that this cost a little money. Yeah, we had to shell out a few coins, but we didn't have to do that alone because we have sponsors that I would like to recognize, and I wish I could do more than say your name because you've done so much for us, but I want you to know who made this happen. Our title sponsors rather, the Mellon Foundation and the MOC, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Thank you. And our presenting sponsors, the National Endowment of the Humanities, specifically the Our Shared Future, Reckoning with Our Racial Past program. Thank you. Our Margaret Walker sponsors, the Community Foundation for Mississippi and the Mississippi Book Festival. Our Phillis Wheatley sponsor, the Mississippi Humanities Council. Thank you. And our Jubilee sponsors, so appropriately named, the Mississippi Development Authority, Millsaps College, Visit Jackson, History of Black Writing, and the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lastly, and certainly not least, our For My People sponsors, the Center for the Study of Southern Culture, Amistad HarperCollins, the Links LaFleur's Bluff Chapter, Butler Snow, and the Mississippi Food Systems Fellowship. Thank you, thank you. You are in for a dynamic evening, hearing from some truly outstanding souls. So I won't stand in your way of that and the party outside that's planned for afterwards. From my heart, sincere thank you. Enjoy yourself. You are welcome. Come back, stay, and come back.
Good evening. Good evening. I am truly excited to welcome you all to the Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival 50th Anniversary Reconvening. This all started 250 years ago when Phillis Wheatley, an African enslaved woman, had the gumption to publish a book of poetry. This act of courage and defiance against the social norms of that time led her to becoming the first enslaved American, the first person of African descent and only the third colonial American woman to have her work actually published. Years later, our very own Margaret Walker Alexander, honoring the significance of Wheatley's accomplishment, organized a who's who of Black women, writers who came together in scholarship, in fellowship, and above all, in sisterhood. Walker Alexander's actions were very powerful, especially in the 70s. I like to think it was a very strategic way to show the world the boldness, determination, and intellectual spirit of Black women. We are here today because of the brilliant minds of Phillis Wheatley and Margaret Walker Alexander. This illuminated a path of others to follow, and the literary world burns brighter because of them and because of all of you. This is a phenomenal time of celebration and joy for all the women who contributed to the legacy of great literature throughout this country. We are celebrating the truth tellers who amplified our stories during times when no one wanted to even hear us. We are praising those who helped the world see another layer of us, a layer of beauty, of grace, resolve, and genius. This anniversary celebration is a salute to Black women writers around the globe, crafting their experiences into words that will inspire the next generations. I want to thank Dr. Robbie Luckett, Director of the Margaret Walker Center, and of course my colleague, Dr. Ebony Lumumba, Chair of our Department of English, for spearheading these efforts along with the planning committees that Dr. Lumumba mentioned. I further appreciate the work of Ms. Carol Woodson, Director of Events for JSU, Hutchison Design Group, and both of their staff for helping to bring this all to life. Lastly, I would like to thank our faculty, our staff, and most importantly, our students, especially all of the professors and administrators who made a point to register students from all across the nation for this conference, which is sure to be an exceptional academic experience. I hope that all of you enjoy the sessions, discussions, receptions, and luncheons scheduled for this week. I plan to. Let us be reminded by the examples of Phillis Wheatley and Margaret Walker Alexander that all it takes is an idea and a belief in oneself to make an undeniable impact on this entire world. Thank all of you for having me. Enjoy, and I encourage all of our guests, please feel right at home. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To Dr. Elaine Hayes Anthony, Acting President of Jackson State University, to Dr. Ebony Lumumba, who taught us to read and write, and I don't say that lightly, to read and write about Black women writers, and inspired many of us to continue in their footsteps. I speak here of Professors Mabel Pittman, Professor Doris Ginn, Professor Willie Dobbs Blackburn, and many others. Dr. Walker was also a professor in the English department at Jackson State when I was a student. She was revered for her poetry and her fiction and her teaching and her leadership on campus. She was held in high esteem for the ways in which her vision pushed the English department forward, hosting writers from around the world and introducing us to a broader world and what could be the far-reaching impact of African American literature. And no moment was more exciting, or more significant, or as far-reaching and transformative for students at Jackson State than the 1973 Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival. I want to thank Margaret Walker for this powerful moment in our time at Jackson State. I also want to thank all of the English faculty for their teacherly and scholarly gifts, and for all of us, and for inspiring all of us to engage in the wider world of African American literature. In addition to being an alum and an English major, I am also now, I proudly say, a board member of the Margaret Walker Center. So I am especially proud to be participating today in that capacity. And I would now like to acknowledge the other board members who are here this evening. Will all of the members of the board of the Margaret Walker Center please stand and be recognized? I would also like to recognize the director of the Margaret Walker Center, Dr. Robert Luckett, whose leadership and dedication to the legacy of Margaret Walker has been unfaltering. His programming, his fundraising, and his commitment to Margaret Walker's vision as this 50-year reconvening of the anniversary of the Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival demonstrates he deserves our praise and our gratitude. Please join me again in thanking him. And I must say, the vision is growing. The board is very excited about the new feasibility study being conducted to build a new Margaret Walker Center on Jackson State's campus. On Friday, at the session with Alice Walker and Dr. Lumumba, the plans for the new center will be revealed, and we invite all of you to join to see the vision for the future of the Margaret Walker Center. And finally, I am also founder and board chair of the Toni Morrison Society, and I am pleased to be here on behalf of the board and the membership to recognize this special gathering of Black women writers. While Morrison was not here in 1973, she was a part of the Sisterhood of Black Women Poets, Sonia Sanchez, Alice Walker, Mari Evans, June Jordan, Audre Lorde, Nikki Giovanni. Just saying the names just calls my heart to skip a beat. Lucille Clifton, Naomi Long, Magic, Carol Clemens, and others who came of age and brought new poetic meaning to Black women's lives everywhere. If Stevie Wonder was the soundtrack of our lives in the 70s, these Black women writers were the poetry of our lives. They told our stories and validated Black women's lives with beauty and power. My thanks to all of you. Toni Morrison was a part of that group of Black women writers, and as an editor for 20 years, she was also a champion of their works, and as a writer and inspiration to younger Black women writers, many of whom will also be joining us this weekend for this historic anniversary gathering. It is in that spirit, then, of gratitude for the phenomenal works of these writers who came of age in the 70s, and for those now following powerfully in their footsteps, that the Toni Morrison Society would like to acknowledge and express our appreciation to them and to the Margaret Walker Center with a commemorative plaque on this very special occasion. Dr. Lumumba, will you join me on stage? The Toni Morrison Society, because I should read it here and then present it to you. The Toni Morrison Society congratulates the Margaret Walker Center on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the 1973 Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival, celebrating Black women writers then and now, at Jackson State University, Jackson, Mississippi, November 1st through the 4th, 2023. It seems fitting now, as I close my remarks on this 50th anniversary of the 1973 Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival, that I quote my favorite and most inspiring stanza from one of the poets who met here 50 years ago. It is the last stanza of Marie Evans's poem, I Am a Black Woman. You can join me, if you know or remember the words, in reciting this incomparable tribute to Black women. I am a Black woman, tall as a cypress, strong beyond all definition, still defines place and time and circumstance, assailed, impervious, indestructible. Look on me and be renewed. I would also now like to introduce two writers who were also here in 1973, and I want to, that would be Carol Gregory and Tonea Stewart. And of course, I can't introduce Tonea without saying that she has always been, always will be regal to me. She was Miss Jackson State when I got here. Always my But I will first introduce Carol Gregory. Carol cannot be here. She had some transportation issues. And so I am going to read, she sent a statement that she wanted to read, and then I will follow with the introduction to Tonea Stewart. Carol Gregory, over the years, she has taught creative writing, composition, and introduction to literature at New York University, Tufts, and CUNY New York colleges. Gwendolyn Brooks praised her poetry in the introduction of Arnold Ardoff's The Poetry of Black America, Anthology of the 20th Century. At Brooks' invitation, Gregory read her poetry for the Library of Congress. Her poems have been published in more than 10 anthologies. And after reading Gregory's poems in R.B. Schumann's anthology, 9 Black Poets, Margaret Walker invited her to present at the 1973 Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival. Along with her unpublished manuscripts in the genres of fiction, plays, poetry, and essays, Gregory has written 11 plays, performed in New York City as a member of the Frank Silvera Writers' Workshop. And her newest play is called Phillis Wheatley Speaks Through the Ages. She has sent this reading that I want to share with you now. Phillis Wheatley, prophet and poet. Phillis Wheatley wrote His Excellency General Washington to praise a revolutionary spirit that all felt. The atmosphere was to resist further domination by King George of England. This poem, as you may know, reflected the optimistic and idealistic nature of a young poet. Poets are called prophets, dreamers, and people full of hope others cannot even imagine. During the time of this composition, the wealthy had fled New York, the white sails of British ships in sight. General Washington had turned the city into an army camp prepared for a fierce, violent battle. Wheatley had a vision of freedom which one may still respect. One British general boasted of blasting holes in the wooden structure of the church, using the wood as campfire for his soldiers. Quite barbaric. A group of Quaker abolitionists met with Washington after he had become president. This flame of hope for revolution was burning brightly. These Quakers asked President Washington to abolish slavery. They made the case that kidnapping, chaining, raping, and forcing human beings into slavery was an abomination in God's eyes. Unfortunately, the lower feelings of humans chained George Washington to evil, greed, sadism, custom, and exploitation. One of his biographers said Washington was a social climber and owning enslaved Africans could bring him wealth. Washington boasted that he would make a 12-year-old child often since she was very fertile. In his book, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, the runaway slave told us that slavery made men and women cruel. Thus, Washington's heart was hardened by living as a slave master. However, let us hear briefly from the young poet Phillis. It is my argument that the inaugural poets who have read for presidents and the nation have the idealism and hope of the young Phillis Wheatley. Maya Angelou, Elizabeth Alexander, and Amanda Gorman all encouraged us while the nation is and was in turmoil. With President Clinton, we had mass incarceration and crack vials on the sidewalks. With President Obama, we had millions of Americans go out to buy military weapons that do not shoot through the body. These new weapons tear the insides apart. And only Senator McCain's vote got insurance for the poor. Red, white, and blue dressed Mary Lou of the 10-vault Olympic fame opposed Obamacare, but is divorced and with no insurance, lying in a hospital, nearly deaf, and Amanda Gorman was composing a poem for President Biden. We witnessed the January 6th armed mob of Americans rush to stop the legal transfer and presidential power and crash through the barricades of the Capitol Police, killing one officer who now lies in Arlington National Cemetery. The Capitol Police were praised by the Congress people for having saved their lives. But these officers were in tears as some described how many times they had been called the N-word. We are gathered together again, poets, writers, journalists, historians, librarians, and curious, brave students to be inspired. Here are some of Phillis's words about a revolution we must make with or without a president. Celestial choir, enthroned in rims of light, Columbia's scenes of glorious toils I write. While freedom's cause her anxious breast alarms, she flashed dreadful in refulgent arms. See Mother Earth, her offspring, faith bemoan, and nations gaze as scenes before unknown. See the bright beams of heaven's revolving light, involved in sorrows and the veil of night. The goddess comes, she moves divinely fair, olive and laurel binds her golden hair. Wherever shines this native of the skies, unnumbered charms and recent graces arise. Muse, thou propitious, while my pen relates, how pour her armies through 1,000 gates. As when Elois heaven's fair face deforms, enwrapped in tempests and a night of storms. Astonished ocean feels the wild uproar, the refluent surges beat the surrounding shore. Or think as leaves in autumn's golden rain, such and so many moves the warrior's train. In bright array they seek the work of war, where high unfurled the envisioned waves in air, shall I to Washington their praise recite. Enough thou knowest them in the fields of fight. Thee, first in peace and honor, we demand the grace and glory of the marital band. Fame for the valor, for the virtues more. Hear every tongue their guardian implore. 1 century scarce performed its destined round, when Gaelic powers Columbia's fury found. And so may you, whoever dares disgrace the land of freedom's heaven-defended race. Fixed are the eyes of the nation on the scales, for in their hope Columbia's arms prevails. May we be inspired, and this is Carol's closing to the poem that she wrote in one read by Phillis Wheatley. May we all be inspired to become the freedom-loving people about whom Margaret Walker wrote in her classic poem, For My People. Then we will do justice to these great poets, prophets, and all probe of good who are gathered here for a goodwill, who are gathered here for this festival. And this is written by Carol on October 18th, 2023. So thank you, Carol. Thank you for that. And now I would like to introduce my queen, actress and professor Dr. Tonea Stewart, a native of Greenwood, Mississippi, has lived in Montgomery, Alabama since 1990. She is a professional actress, playwright, director, National Museum exhibit director, tenured professor, and retired as Dean of the College of Visual and Performing Arts at Alabama State University. She was the first African-American female to receive a doctorate from Florida State University School of Theater, and the first Magnite doctoral fellow in theater arts. As an actress, Tonea is perhaps best known for her recurring role of Miss Etta Kivy on The Heat of the Night. Tonea began her acting career in 1969, and she became the first African-American to direct and star in a leading role on stage at New Stage Theater, the most prestigious equity theater in Mississippi. A Jackson State alumna, she participated in the original 1973 Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Tonea Stewart.
Y'all think
places. This is mine. She was such a dynamic teacher. And I was a student worker. I typed on Jubilee. And when we had, I remember sitting there looking, and I got really confused because I recognized so much. Called her home, her daughter answered the phone and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. She's in an ambulance right now on the way to the hospital. It's made my mother sick." Dr. Margaret Walker Alexander, in planning the Phillis Wheatley Poetry Festival, by that time she had already recommended me to graduate school in Santa Barbara. I returned to teach on the campus, but I was still her student. So when she started her plans, she said, "Now, Toby, I want you to study these poems and you be ready. I'm going to call on you and I need you to be ready to speak." I got all these poems, well, I learned. I don't want to write. I learned we are the people. A people do not throw their geniuses away. It is our duty as artists and as witnesses for the future to collect them. And if necessary, bone by bone. That was Alice Walker's piece. I learned I've come this far free, and I won't turn back. I'm coming to the highway from the old dirt track. I'm climbing, I'm growing, and I'm stretching and I'm growing, and I reap what I've been sowing, or my skin is not black. I prayed and slaved and waited, and I've sung my songs. You lashed me and you treed me, but I've still grown strong. You bled me, you starved me, and did everything but freed me, but in time, you'll know you need me, and it won't be long. I've seen the daylight breaking high above the bow. I found my destination, and I made my vow. So whether you admire me or deride me or abhor me or ignore me, mighty mountains loom before me, and I won't stop now. Those are the words of Naomi Long Magic. And I learned, toughest gal I ever did see was a gal by the name of Kissy. Toughest gal God ever made, and she drew her dirty and wicked blade. Now this gal wasn't always tough. Nobody dreamed she'd turn out rough, but her grandma Mammy had the name of being the town's sin shame. Now when Kissy was young and good, would nobody treat her like they should? Always get whipped by no good shine, always quick to cry and whine till her grandma said, "Now you listen to me. I'm tired of your whining, Kissy. You're always scrapping or in a fight, and don't nobody ever treat you right. When I was young, wasn't no soul could do me wrong and still stay home. God got me a razor to talk for me, and after that done, they let me be." She could shoot glass doors off their hinges. She could take herself on the wildest binges, and she died with her boots on, switching blades on Talladega Mountain in a liquor rain. That girl was bad. Those are the words of my Walker. I had the opportunity to meet Maya Angelou in the presence of Dr. Alexander, to work with Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis on the stage as a part of the celebration. My role was to read the descriptions. I was like the stage manager. When Ruby said something from Lena and Bozeman, and then Ossie would respond, and then she would look at him. So I shared that stage for the entire performance.
At first, I was a little put off with Dr. Alexander for putting so much pressure on me. But then she not only put pressure on me, she said, I need some of your students to be ready the same way. I said, get up here, you think me talking to you. I don't have time for no back talk. Now you get them ready. So Jay hung up, Curtis King, Walter Robinson, so many of them prepared and took part. And who would have thought, 50 years later, Dr. Lucky, with Dr. Lumumba, with the board, would ring that bell of light and ignite the flame again for the new and breathing and beautiful and talented young artists that can say that they were here in 2028, 50 years. To God be the glory! To God be the glory! Thank you, Dr. Alexander. Thank you, Phillis Wheatley. Thank you, even our friend B. Riches, who also wrote a Black Woman's piece. It is right that I, a woman black, should speak for white woman. And she presented that. And when I called Dr. Alexander to tell her while I was in California that I had met actress B. Riches, and I said, and this man took me to her as our guest lecturer, and his name is Frank Silvera. She said, oh my God! Tonea, Frank Silvera, hold on to his coat. Listen to what he has to say. I didn't know that she even knew who I was talking about. She said, he helped me Riches get us started. And he'll do the same thing for you. And he did. Took me to 20th Century Fox. Introduced me to the casting directors. I called Dr. Alexander. I said, Dr. Alexander, oh my God, things are going so fast. She said, just slow down. Just slow down, breathe. Now that man's still here that you call yourself in love with. I said, Dr. Alexander, what you doing? What you talking about? I know what I'm talking about. You come on back here now, and you get the man, then you go on and get another degree. And we have been together 54 years. But she sure empowered Dr. Alexander to shake her finger in his face and say, if you say you're going to take her and take care of her. That's why I had no other plans and I had so much plans. I want you to listen to me. And she invited us over and she made some red, I think it's red snapper. What was it? Red snapper. Yeah, the whole big fish with the liver sticking out of her. She could cook too. I'm so honored and humbled. To stand here 50 years later in the company of some who are still here, but in the spirit of those who are not. Thank you all. Thank you all for registering to be here, for keeping in your heart and your prayers the vision and the words and the talent and the work of all of God's little children who've grown up to be the poet of all races and be the masters of the art as they are. I am so humbled. I am so thankful that I found myself on the grounds of Jackson State University. We have When any of our professors gave us a directive, we trembled with excitement to follow their guide. And now one is sitting in as president of the university. Walking the halls at the same time. We were there. I'm so grateful. We have 3 children. Our oldest son graduated from Jackson State. He played the trumpet in the Mighty Marching Corner. I was going to listen. He was a part of the band, the Sonic Boom. And our daughter came back with the help of the speech pathology professor who dynamic, wonderful, Juanita Sims Doty. Now our daughter heads up speech pathology in Alabama, in the city of Montgomery. Our goddaughter, Janice Roundtree, heads up speech pathology, just moved to Tennessee, and now she's, what do you call it, when they travel around and train other people to do speech pathology. Our niece grew up right there at the campus, now speech pathology professor at Auburn University. I mean, I'm so glad. I'm so humbled. I'm so thankful that Dr. Margaret Walker believed in herself. And she wants all of us to believe in ourselves. And that we would commit ourselves continuously to serve others. It's not about us. It's about what we can do for the future of the children. If I go on too long, you have to come and pick me up. So let me just say again, thank you. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to entertain you.
Dr. Denard, Dr. Stewart, I am overwhelmed just by the first event. Your words, your kindness, your memories, your thoughts, everything that you shared. I'm so proud of Jackson State.
I missed one thing. Yeah. You know how we get the letters out? It was the mimeograph machine.
Yeah. How many people know what that is? Okay. So it can be done. It can be done. I'm looking at students, I'm like, I am done. It can be done. I've been asked to do a little housekeeping before we celebrate a bit more. And so the first thing I want to do is talk to you about swag. Because if you've seen the 1973 pictures, those sisters look good. They look good. So we want to help you out. I'm wearing a lovely lapel pin. And if you've registered, there's an opportunity for you to join me and wear a lapel pin and benefit the Jackson State University Creative Writing Program. I think Dr. Alexander would be very proud. Very proud. So visit the registration desk. I'm also wearing some earrings. Y'all notice these? They're for sale too, they could be yours. And you can also benefit our creative writing program. So if you're thinking, how could I be a part of this legacy? That is how. Tomorrow Tomorrow, we're going to keep going. 8 a.m., our first session begin. I would like to celebrate the presenters, wish you the best. Please be there to support them. There will be coffee. So we can do this even after tonight. Please check your program for the shuttle schedule. So if you need to travel from your hotel to the convention center, which is where all of tomorrow's daytime events will take place, and then in the evening we will convene on the campus of Jackson State University. You'll get to visit those hallowed grounds. So if you're in need of a shuttle, the times and the locations are listed in your lovely program here. Without any further ado, please join me again in thanking our speakers this evening. And acknowledging the personal attendees. Please join us in the lobby for a reception. Please high five, ask questions, and help us to continue to conjure and summon the spirit of 73. Thank you, and good night.
I mean, I know.